tape over all this stuff. Oh, sh**. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Gold Guy YouTube channel. And welcome back to my 1974 Honda MT250 Elsinore restoration. This bike is almost done, and there's one major thing I need to do to it that I have been putting off, and that is the wiring. I have nothing wired. I have all the components installed, but none of it is connected. And that's because I'm missing like half of the wiring harness, and I'm gonna have to figure something out, splice some stuff together. I hate wiring. If you've been watching my videos for any amount of time, you probably know that by now. But I've got to do it. It's the last thing to do on the bike. So let's get right into it. Come off now. Yeah, there's the gas tank. And now we can actually see what's going on here. And then something else that I know for sure I'm gonna need to do is pull out the headlight so that I can take a look at the wires inside. I printed out a couple diagrams that are really going to help me. Now this is the actual MT250 wiring diagram, and these always kind of confused me, but it simply, it just shows you a breakdown of the individual components like rear stop switch, silicon rectifier, which I'm actually missing. I just ordered one on eBay, and also the winker relay. I think the word winker is really funny, but that's what they call the turn signal blinker flasher relay, winker. So that I was also missing. Went ahead and ordered one of those. And then this one is really going to help me a lot. This is like a parts diagram breakdown of the wire diagram, and it shows that the key here, which I have, the ignition, and then the ignition mount, and then there's this piece here, which is right here. I didn't know what it was until I looked at this, and then the turn signal blinker goes right here, and then these little grommets, rubber grommets, go in these big holes. So everything's kind of starting to make sense. This piece goes on this side, like that. And then I have the brake switch. Let's see if this actually fits. Here is the bracket that I think this goes in. Yep, seems like it. And then this plastic nut holds it in place. I had this nut on backwards actually. It's supposed to go like that, pointing down. But as you can see, push the brake pedal down and that comes out. I've got some packages to open up. Ta-da! Here we have the complete wiring harness somebody was selling on eBay, and the connector is intact, and this is actually the correct wiring harness for my bike. We've got another turn signal flasher that I bought because one more thing here, the rectifier. Holy crap, that is so much smaller than the stock original one. Wow. Okay, now I'm starting with this big connector up here. well, everything fit, so I think that's probably correct. First thing to connect, the ignition. Colors definitely don't match up. I don't know. We'll try it. First things first, we gotta pop off the side cover to expose the battery in there. Pop these bolts out so I can actually pull the battery out. Oh man, that was a little bit of a mess. What the f is going on? Oh my god. Jeez, I finally got the battery out. I don't know what was going on. That wire in there was like so stuck. I thought I'd be able to use these wire leads for the battery, but I don't need them since my new wiring harness came with its own battery leads. And now I connect my own here. Green is ground. Oof. Yeah, let's just do that. That makes it easier. Okay, there we go. My new wire harness thing's connected to the battery. So now let's plug the battery back into the wire harness and see what happens. Doesn't sound like anything happened yet. Take the key out, put it in the ignition. No, still nothing yet. On my schematics. Need that. Alright, it is the next day here in the shop, and I have done some research. I was kind of stuck, didn't know like how to route this because there's like no room in there. I think maybe this whole wire is supposed to go like under the frame rail somewhere. And with this oil tank in here, it's really making it hard to do anything with the battery, so I'm going to pull this guy out. There we go. Alright, so now we're getting down to business. So maybe, just maybe those wires ran right behind the oil tank. So I'm going to try to route them under the frame rail here. This is making sense. This split right here is like right at the frame rail where all of the lighting connectors can go up here through the, in between the inner fender and the frame. Oh yeah. Alright, and then we've got all the wires up here for the rear lighting. And then we've got the battery connector and the fuse and all that stuff. Simply connects right up to the battery there. Perfect. And then, wow, that must be where it goes from the factory. I mean, that makes the most sense. I see something else cool. So the wires for the rear brake switch are right here. Just pulled them over from the other side. There they are, right there. So those wires are colored green with yellow stripe and black. And guess what? Two wires we have literally right here off of the harness, green with yellow stripe and black. Man, I love when things just make sense like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect those up. And now I've got to hook up all this rear lighting. Slide this guy over this. Alright, got everything reconnected. So now let's cover up all the connectors. off this thing. Okay, that's it for the back section. I'm gonna go ahead and put the battery door on. Oh crap, you know what? See that there? That has to be made to hold this fuse. Yep, wow, fits perfectly. So that just confirms that this is definitely how all this is supposed to be. Holds in the bottom in place. Awesome. And then there's just one thing left to do back here, and that is connect the rectifier. I found a 4-pin male connector, which will be perfect for connecting the rectifier to my harness. I just gotta cut this one off and solder it onto the rectifier, and we'll be good to go there. And now we have this connector that I needed. So let's go ahead and strip out the wires. There we go. Now, just got to plug it in. Well, first, let's hit it with a little electronic cleaner. Nice, and it even snapped together like it should. Awesome. Now let's get some tape over all this stuff. Oh, sh**. I don't know what the heck just happened. I think I did something wrong. The rectifier just popped. This green wire came right out of it. Man, that was scary. Only 6 volts too. And that just happened. I made a fatal mistake there. I don't know how I did it, but somehow I was thinking the top left pin was the positive, but it's actually the top right pin. Rectifier later. So I think the whole back end of the bike is finished. Now moving over to the middle, we have the engine wires, and somebody cut the connector right off from the engine. That's how it was when I bought the bike. So I don't have anything to plug into this factory 5-pin connector from the harness, but instead I have this 5-pin little connector I got on eBay a while ago. It's waterproof, pretty nice. So I think I'm gonna have to just cut this connector off and like solder this in place. Just found out there's only 4 wires coming out of the engine, and there's 5 wires at this connector. I think it might be the neutral switch wire, might be the one I'm missing. Well, anyways, let's just go ahead and connect what I do have for now. Yep, and this is the part that I hate to do, but we gotta cut this connector off. Ooh, man, that sucks. I think I can still use this boot though. Heck yeah, perfect fit. Nobody will even know. popped off the side cover here, and as I've seen on many other engines, there is the little thing that the neutral switch wire connects to. I don't know how those work, but it's like a little brass post, the washer and a spring, and then there's a hole there. So all I really have to do is stick this wire, any old wire, through that hole, and then we'll twist it around there. Wire to the connector. Nice. Okay, now all the engine wires are all hooked up. Tape off the rest of this stuff up here, finish it up. Now, over to the front of the bike, we've got a little bit of a mess here, but I think I've figured it out. So this is my wire coming from the ignition coil right there, and that simply gets plugged into this loose single connector, black and white stripe. Then we've got a green ground that's going to bolt up right where it is to the ignition coil. And then there's only one thing left. That is the kill switch, which is ground and black with white stripe. Here are the wires coming from the kill switch. So let's finish this stuff up. Plug in right there. Brilliant. My camera died, but I got everything connected. And then I put my new flasher on, which actually fit perfectly on the stock bracket. There's one extra ground wire that my flasher doesn't have a post for, so I just crimped on a little ground connector and then grounded it out right there on the coil. All that's left to do now is just clean up this little bundle of wiring. Nice. And then up here, all I had to do was pull the turn signal wires through the back of the headlight bucket, connect them to where they go. There is one black wire that I really have no idea what it connects to, so I'm just gonna leave it loose and I'll probably figure out what it connects to later. Let's see. Time to get the side cover back on. We're putting this bike back together. Alright, and now it's gas tank time. Hopefully it still fits with all those wires and stuff in there. Okay, that's it. Bike is officially reassembled. All the electrical work is done. I don't know if anything works because turn the key and nothing happens still. So I'm gonna try and start up the bike and we'll see what happens. Is that this ignition switch is like backwards. It only works when it's in the off position, and when it's in the on position, there's no spark. So, what the heck, guys? This is always my philosophy, guys. Start with the easiest possible thing. And I did that. I looked at this fuse, which I checked before I did all the wiring on the bike, and the fuse was good. Fuse was fine. So I think whenever I had the regulator wired wrong, it probably shorted this fuse out. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna put a new fuse in here. Man, this is a head scratcher for sure, because the fuse is good, but still have no lights. It's a couple days later here in the shop, still working on the bike, and I found a few issues. Issue number one was that all of the speedometer or the tachometer gauge light bulbs were blown out, and the neutral light bulb is also blown out. The next issue is that the turn signal bulbs that I had in there were 12 volt bulbs, so obviously that's not going to work. So I swapped them out for these like 7.4 volt bulbs I found at an AutoZone. Don't even know if those will work, but give it a shot. Here are the new 6 volt 3 watt bulbs that I bought on Amazon. So let's pop these in the gauge and see if we can get things working. Okay, there we go. All new bulbs are in. Now let's flip on the key and see what happens. Okay, 2 of them work. The right one I think is for the turn signals. Turn signal button. Still no turn signals. Check that out. We've got a brake light. No running light, but we'll get there. We're making some progress here. So I found another problem. This problem is with the ignition. I have it all torn apart here, as you can see. So the ignition that's made to go on this bike, that apparently is not this one, only has 1 or 2 positions, off and on. As you can see, this ignition made for a Honda CB200, which is really the only one I could find on eBay, has 3 points. And I don't know why, but every time it would go into that second on position, it would blow the fuse. So what I did, I drilled a tiny little hole in this piece of metal here. I pounded in a little wire nail, super glued it in place, and cut the head off so that it can only ever go in that first on position. But I am going to have to mess with this contact plate a little bit also to make sure the connection is getting the right connections in that first position. So these left 2 wires are the ones that work the kill switch. The kill switch works by just grounding out the coil wire, and that takes away the spark. The coil wire is the black with white stripe, and ground is green. So in the off position, it's supposed to be the ignition is supposed to be connecting these two. But in my case, they were connected when it was in the on position, so the bike would only run with the key in the off position, and it would not run once you turn the key on. So what I had to do was pull out this little brass contact, used to be right there, and I moved it to the left a little bit so that once the key is in the off position, the ground is connected to the coil wire, and once you turn it on, it pulls the connection apart. This has been such a learning experience. I'm going to get this back on the bike and see if it works. Well, it runs in the on position. Turn signals. This took probably like 4 hours to figure out. How I figured this out was by looking at the turn signal control, and I pulled it out of here and I saw the middle is a gray wire. Where else have I seen a gray wire? On the turn signal blinker, which makes total sense. And then from here, the gray wire is supposed to go to the turn signal control. But testing with continuity on my multimeter showed me that it indeed was not making it to the turn signal control, which told me the wire is broken. And yes, it was. I ripped apart the outside and I could see that the gray wire was snapped. So I simply twisted it together, tested if it would work, and it works now. So all I've got to do, solder those wires together, heat shrink them up, tape it all up, and I'm done. Man, this wiring on this bike was probably the hardest thing I did on the whole bike overall, the biggest challenge. It was a nightmare. It was so hard, but I finally got everything working. And the horn is actually decently loud for a 6-volt system. Speaking of 6-volt systems, man, did I learn a lot about them. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It was so hard to make, and it took many hours to figure all this stuff out. Everything is finally working and working as it should. So if you want to see more stuff like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on another upload. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace out.